Who here has built a puzzle before? Usually, when you build one, there's a picture to guide you. You know what you're trying to build. But what if you only had pieces without knowing where they were supposed to go? A puzzle without a picture. That's what self discovery can feel like sometimes. In life, you don't always get clear directions. There's no picture showing you exactly who you're supposed to become. Just pieces, small moments, experiences, and changes, slowly coming together. So, let me ask you this. What do you think of when you hear the word discovery? Maybe scientists discovering new planets or explorers finding new lands. Maybe you imagine people traveling across the oceans, searching for something the world has never seen before. But what if the most important discoveries aren't always out there, but somewhere much closer, somewhere deep inside of us? Because before we discover the world, before we decide our future, we have to discover ourselves. As a teenager, everything feels new. New friends, new subjects, and new emotions that don't always make sense. And I think many of us can relate to that. One moment you feel confident, and the next you're overthinking something small you said earlier, replaying it in your head and wondering why you even said it that way. Sometimes you don't even understand why you feel the way you do. You just know that something is changing. And when things don't make sense, it's easy to feel like something is wrong. But what if it's not wrong? What if it just means we're still figuring out who we are? Part of that is learning what we believe about ourselves, the limits we accept, and the ones we don't. Because, as Gusto says in Disney's Ratatouille, you must be imaginative, strong hearted. You must try things that may not work. And you must not let anyone define your limits because of where you come from. Your only limit is your soul. What I say is true. Anyone can cook, but only the fearless can be great. So maybe we shouldn't let others decide what we're capable of or define the limits we place on ourselves. Identity isn't something we suddenly understand. It's something that slowly forms through the way we think, the way we react, and the experiences we go through. And maybe those confusing moments aren't mistakes. Maybe they're pieces, not missing ones, just ones we don't understand yet. As we start to understand ourselves, we also try to express who we are. I think many of us have had moments where we wanted to share something but didn't know how. Maybe you replay a conversation in your head, wishing you had said it differently, or you stayed quiet even when you had something to say. It's not that we have nothing to express, it's just that we're still learning how to express it. And I think, in different ways, we all want the same thing: to be understood. One place I feel that is on stage, not just because I'm performing, but because it's one of the few moments where I can fully express things I don't always know how to say in everyday life. And in those moments, you don't just show some things to others, you start to understand something about yourself. Then there's the future. We're often uncertain about our plans. And sometimes it can feel like we need to have everything figured out. Then, just as you think you've finally figured yourself out, someone asks, "So, what do you want to become?" Which is funny because I could barely decide what I want for dinner, let alone my future. But what if we don't need to have everything figured out? Even some of the most successful people didn't know exactly where life would take them. Walt Disney, for example, faced failures and rejections before creating the stories and characters people around the world know today. He didn't have the full picture at the beginning, but he simply kept building. And maybe self discovery works the same way. Maybe we don't need to see the entire future to take the next step. Right now, I have ideas of what I want to be. I want to help people and I want to make a difference. But I also know that those ideas might change. And perhaps that's not something to be afraid of. Maybe it's just part of the process. Because if self discovery comes first, then it makes sense that the entire future doesn't have to be fully clear yet. In the end, it all comes down to three things. First, identity and understanding who you are. Second, expression and learning how to show that to the world. And third, uncertainty and having the courage to move forward, even when you don't have all the answers yet. Self discovery isn't about finding one final answer, it's about slowly putting the pieces together through experiences, through challenges, and through moments we don't fully understand. Not every puzzle comes with a picture. Not every life comes with a clear image. And maybe it's not supposed to. Maybe the point isn't to know exactly where every piece belongs right away. Maybe the point is to keep on building anyways. To keep going even when the pieces don't seem to fit. To trust that even the confusing parts still belong somewhere. Piece by piece, moment by moment, and choice by choice. Sometimes the pieces that don't make sense at first ends up being the ones that matter the most. Even if you can't see the whole picture yet, that doesn't mean you're lost. It just means you're still becoming. Thank you.